We are just weeks away from the end of the 2025 NBA regular season, and the MVP race is more intense than ever. Normally, by this point, there's a clear frontrunner, but this season, there are two undeniable MVP candidates, and choosing between them has left voters completely torn. One player is leading his team to historic success, while the other is putting up some of the most absurd numbers in NBA history. So, who truly deserves the award? The most compelling case for MVP often comes down to stats, and right now, Nikola Jokić and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander aren't just having the best seasons of the year, they're putting up all-time great numbers. Jokić is flirting with a near 30-point triple-double on elite efficiency, ranking top 3 in points, rebounds, and assists.
From heaven, Nikola Jokić with 32 now.
Meanwhile, Shai's May 6, 33 stat line on over 60% true shooting has only been matched by 3 other players, Michael Jordan, James Harden, and Luka Dončić. The numbers alone suggest both players deserve the award, but history shows that stats alone rarely decide MVP. So, if stats don't tell the full story, what does? Team success has always been a major factor. Typically, MVPs come from teams that finish at the top of the standings, and in that category, Shai has a clear advantage. The Thunder are winning at a historic pace, ranking among the most dominant regular season teams ever. Jokic's Nuggets, while still elite, haven't reached that level, but recent trends show that voters are starting to prioritize individual impact over team success. So, who really carries their team more? When Shai is on the floor, the Thunder outscore opponents by an absurd 18 points per 100 possessions. But Jokic's impact is arguably even greater. Without him, the Nuggets' net rating drops to one of the worst in the league. His presence is the difference between Denver being a championship contender and a lottery-level team. The question then becomes, is it more valuable to elevate an average team into a title contender, or to take a great team and make them historically dominant? Beyond stats and team success, there's one more factor that often decides the MVP, the narrative. And right now, every major storyline favors Shai.
I like SGA for MVP.
He's the leader of a young, exciting team. He's playing both ends of the floor at an elite level. He's never won an MVP before. Meanwhile, Jokić is battling voter fatigue after already winning 2. The media is leaning heavily towards Shai, and historically, the MVP tends to go to the player with momentum behind their case.
Well, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander factor is really undersold in the NBA. I see people talk about, that there's a race for the MVP. I just don't think that there is. I think he's in the lead by a lot. He's coming off a 51-point game from Monday night. He has 4 50-point games in his last 19.
But narratives can be misleading. They can cause voters to ignore precedent and overlook history. And that brings us to the final question. What actually makes a player the most valuable? Is it the best individual stats, the most team success, or the greatest overall impact? The answer to that question will ultimately decide who walks away with the 2025 NBA MVP trophy. And the race is far from over. With just a few games left in the season, every performance matters. One dominant stretch could sway the voters. A single injury or bad game could tip the scales. It's a race that will come down to the wire, with every possession carrying weight. And as we count down to the final moments of the regular season, the debate rages on. Some believe Jokic's two-way brilliance and impact on Denver's entire system make him the clear choice. Others argue that Shai's breakout year, historic efficiency, and dominance on both ends of the floor make him impossible to ignore. No matter which side you're on, one thing is certain. This is one of the closest and most fascinating MVP races in NBA history. To fully appreciate how unique this MVP race is, we have to look back at history. The NBA has had some legendary MVP battles before. Think about the 1993 race between Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley. Jordan was still the best player in the world, but Barkley led the Suns to the best record in the league. The voters went with team success and crowned Barkley the MVP. Or look at 2001, when Shaquille O'Neal dominated the league, but lost to Allen Iverson, whose emotional narrative and individual brilliance carried him to the award. These past battles show us that MVP isn't just about stats or impact. It's also about timing, perception, and storyline. Let's also break down advanced metrics. Jokić leads the league in PER, player efficiency rating, and BPM, box plus minus, 2 key indicators of overall impact. He also has the best on-off rating in the league, meaning Denver completely falls apart when he's off the floor. But Shai isn't far behind. His offensive and defensive ratings are elite, and his clutch performance this season has been phenomenal. He has more game winners than anyone else, and has taken over games in in ways few players can. Another major factor, playoff implications. Historically, winning MVP doesn't always guarantee postseason success. Think of Russell Westbrook's 2017 MVP. He had an unforgettable season, but the Thunder got bounced early in the playoffs. On the other hand, players like Jordan and LeBron have used MVP seasons to dominate the playoffs. Could Shai or Jokić turn their MVP run into a championship push? That's another question voters have to consider. Then there's the element of voter bias. Voter fatigue is real. The media often prefers a fresh narrative, which could hurt Jokic's chances. Historically, three-time MVPs are rare, and the NBA hasn't seen a player win 3 in 4 years since Larry Bird in the 1980s. That's why, despite his dominance, some voters might lean toward Shai just to reward new blood in the league. We also need to consider how each player affects the league's future. Shai represents the new wave of NBA stars, showing that a franchise can build around a dynamic guard rather than a dominant big man. If he wins, it could shift the perception of what an MVP looks like. Meanwhile, Jokic's win would reinforce the idea that fundamental, all-around dominance is still king in the NBA. As the season winds down, we'll see just how much voters weigh all these factors. Will they stick to precedent, valuing past criteria like overall team success, or will they embrace the evolving definition of the award, rewarding the player with the most undeniable individual impact? One thing is certain, the answer will shape not just this season, but the way we view the MVP award for years to come. And as we wait for that final decision, the debate only gets louder. But this MVP race isn't just about history, it's about legacy. The winner of this award will define their era. If Shai wins, he'll be solidified as the face of the new NBA generation, proving that dynamic, two-way guards can lead a franchise to dominance. If Jokić wins, he'll cement himself as one of the greatest big men of all time, potentially reaching the pantheon of players like Kareem, Duncan, and Shaq. This race isn't just about one season, it's about a shift in NBA power. And as the final games play out, one thing is clear: the 2025 MVP battle will be talked about for generations.